Hello and welcome to this Eyes of Harmony podcast. On this channel, we talk everything old, new, and upcoming Doctor Who. It has been a while. We've been very busy. Conrad's background has changed. Oh my God, he's moved. He's not in the same place. Wow, look at us go. It's I mean, like when you look actually over our history, we've recorded in a lot of different places. It's very cool.
I remember once recorded a reaction in Oxford, like in just a room I rented when I was up for doing an audition for the acting school up there. So it was just like a very fancy background. But it's just white walls.
Now, yes,
just
lovely. Bit of duvet, bit of curtain.
Wall.
Keep it minimalistic. Keep the focus on you. But anyway, yes. It has been a while since we last recorded. We've been extremely busy. I've had work and side projects. Conrad has just started a course up in London for acting. So yes, it's been a while, but now we're going to talk about a shit ton of Doctor Who. There was nothing for so long. And then, so first of all, we're going to just focus solely on Series 13, the marketing and everything like that. So obviously, marketing has been abysmal in a sense. I mean, I work in marketing, and what they've done is truly insane. Like, not even saying an air date is wild. Like inside the company, you know these things. I know air dates for like January time stuff coming up. Like this information is available like inside a company for like months in advance. So for other people to not know like marketing, like you know, companies that can sell stuff not knowing is insane. It's Doctor Who. It's not this massive. Well, it's big, right? But it's not like. What does it matter? It's not like Endgame 3 billion coming out kind of scale.
Yeah, and supposedly even other departments in the BBC had their idea, at least like, you know, within the last few weeks. At least in terms of like BBC America, like certain sections of that didn't know. So yeah, like all this secrecy, like I get it in a certain sense that, you know, you want to keep certain cards close to your chest and, you know, you shouldn't have everything out there. But something like a release date isn't like, oh my god, shocker. You know, it's not
what
like
a spoiler!
Who's getting the rise out of the air date? Like, who's like, oh my god, it's the 31st! You know, it's like,
it's insane. It's insane. I can't believe it. I mean, I think I'd love to go back. I don't have the time for our old videos, but I think I did guess the 31st potentially one time.
Possibly.
I think I said the 24th or 31st. But I mean, like, Halloween's a good one. I think in some ways, I think there'll be less people trick-or-treating. I think this is why it's also later. So the rumor is they haven't officially announced the time yet for it. But when you looked at the schedule, someone shared a schedule on Twitter, and there was like the mating show twice at 4 p.m. and then at 8 p.m. So I think it will be at 8 p.m. I think that's a smart move in terms of like people are going to be doing stuff on Halloween, at least with families. Trick or treating you can start around like 5 p.m. when it starts to get dark. And then you hope that people
assumed it was an evening thing, so I would be worried that people would still be out. But
well, I think for those who want to watch Doctor Who, at least, but I mean it's an hour time slot, so at least I think that kind of confirms that at least part one will be
unless they're doing it at 4.
God. Yes, 4 p.m. We go way back. We go to the earliest premiere date ever instead of the latest. But yeah, so obviously the blackout, before we talk about the trailer, the weird social media blackout, which was, I have no idea what that was. What was the point? Like, I know that some people try to say it got trending, but it was like, 2,000 tweets. Kind of, 2,000 tweets. Do you know how many people, like, tune into Doctor Who? That doesn't even scratch the surface of just the fandom alone. Like, it... Because you can't really talk about something that isn't there. And then to come back with just a new logo picture was so...
like, why did you bother? Like, people thought it might have, like, genuinely been hacked and such. It was like...
That's what I thought. I was starting to think because nothing... I now only realise that it probably was planned was because of the picture change when it came back up.
Or else, it was pretty much the same. It was just like... a slightly
It's the
lighter
deeper. It's
orange and was a little bit
it's the
smaller.
flux. It's the flux background color.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah,
it
it was.
at least the icon looks pretty much exactly the same, just
Yeah,
with like slight differences. It's like,
weird. So then we were getting these glitch trailer things, which were the
mm,
first one wasn't great because you could barely tell it was Jodie for a second. Like if you
mm.
didn't know Doctor
and
Who, you'd have no
mm.
clue who the hell it was. At least
and to a
like,
certain, I'm sorry.
no, you carry on.
To a certain extent, I think that was the point because it's like, well, there's this mysterious static. Oh, I'm interested now. Next time the static's going to come on, I'm really going to pay attention. I guess sort of thing. It's like even if you don't know Doctor Who, it's like, what does this mean? Why is there this TV static
Possibly,
and such?
but
But it didn't really.
the counter to that is if you only saw that one static and you never saw a different one again, you'd not know what the hell it was.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? The second one was great, and I actually saw that one live. I was like, you know what? I just finished my dinner. I was like, I turned the TV on in the kitchen. I was like, oh, that could be an updated one. And then literally as I turned it on, it pretty much came on. Like the mating game started. I saw the glitch. I was like, yes, called it, got it. I actually guessed it right. And then yeah. Then that was cool. They just named drops like Sontarans, Weeping Angels. Like I'm really glad that this time around, that when they are like now promoting it, they're not being too ridiculously close to their chest. I remember like the series 11 trailer barely showed many like villains. Like it didn't show much at all in terms of like threats or aliens. And I know series 12 did a bit better on that, but this one really just like they name dropped it, and then now we've waited
yeah.
a week, and then they finally released just 2 weeks and 2 days before the series airs an actual proper trailer, which has already caught up in views the other trailer, the trailer that they released at Comic Con,
Mm.
which was actually just a load of close-ups
Yeah,
of the actors, which was just nothing to sink your teeth into at
more
all.
or less. Yeah.
Literally so little you could like go, nice. Like they could have had at least one Sontaran shot in there, like now that they're so open about sharing them, like what would it matter if you just shared
But
one a little earlier?
no, no, Nick, we gotta time this properly. You
Yeah.
only can see the guy from Game of Thrones, and that's it.
Oh yes, he is. That's
That's
what
the
every
only thing
because
you can see.
because you really want to be connected to the show, which completely bombed in its final season to the point where nobody cares about the franchise anymore. Like that is literally probably the worst I've seen a show bomb. Like nobody talks about Game of Thrones anymore.
Hmm.
Like that's how bad it is. Like
But
people still talk about Breaking Bad and reference it. Game of Thrones is just like people referencing it. Like it is. I do not hear it any in
I'm certainly still
conversations
seeing
anymore.
certain things. Like I was in sort of Leicester Square area yesterday, and we wandered into some like shop which had still quite a lot of like Game of Thrones stuff about.
Because
I
they
mean, it was sort
can't
of like
shift
a
it. They can't
magic
shift it.
and sort of
Oh
fantasy
yes,
sort of shop.
yeah, I know that one. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
it's a new, yeah, sorry, yeah.
I know that shop. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure it still does well, but I bet you like in terms of like Game of Thrones merch that was selling after that season, I bet it's dipped. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's probably
Oh,
recovered. It depends how good this new series, House of Dragons, is going to be, which has
mm,
Matt Smith in.
yeah.
So it's still Doctor Who related. But anyway, yes. Yeah, so finally, during the Graham Norton show, where Jodie was being very sweet and lovely to watch, we finally got a trailer, which was a little late, weirdly, for a family show. I feel like you kind of want to
Mm,
get that early so that kids could watch it, but hey ho.
mm.
Whatever. We got a trailer, and fuck me, it was great.
It was a good
Absolutely the
trailer.
best trailer that Jodie has had. I
Mm,
rewatched. I know it's a good trailer for someone who cuts trailers myself. You know it's a
mm.
good trailer if you're watching it over and over again. That's
Yeah.
just the key thing. And I was finding myself watching it. I think before I went to sleep because I just stayed up for the trailer. I watched it maybe like 7 times, and that's why I'm like, okay, this is a sick trailer. Like, I've managed to, like, there's enough in here that I keep wanting to watch it again. You know, pick up details, look at it. The track was right. This is the first time they've got a track which really suits Doctor Who. The whole pop song for Series 11 just was a weird choice. I know they'll try to do the whole song and, like, you know, start again, whatever. I get the themes that they had in there, but it was very, like, not Doctor Who, which was already like, when you're doing such a big change, like when they were moving like David Tennant to Matt Smith, they still did the classic kind of trailer for Series 5 with, you know, music, dramatic
Yeah.
music, etc. And that's what made people feel like, okay, so it's different Doctor Who, but it's still got this, you know, it's same enough.
Yeah.
I bet you if you'd done a cut like this with Series 11, people would have been less, I think, panicked. I think. And yeah, then Series 12 had a weird upbeat track. Because I can't really remember the Series 12 trailer much at all, even though I just
No,
watched it.
neither.
But what I remember is when I was listening to it, I was like, this track's a weird choice. This one, Series 13, perfect adventure, danger,
Yeah.
action, high pace, high stakes. It just like
It,
just from a sound perspective was brilliant.
yeah. No. It sort of made me from like very, very indifferent to everything going on to at least a bit interested. Like it's a good trailer, but I certainly still have my concerns about the series as a whole. But I'm certainly a lot more interested now than I was like a week ago. Like,
Yeah,
you know. Um yeah, though it really did a good job, you know. There are lots of classic villains in there and lots of really cool shots, lots of really interesting like things to kind of draw from it and to wonder, well, how does this all fit together? Which in some ways is almost a concern given the sheer amount of villains we seem to have back.
mm,
How on
mm.
earth is this all gonna fit? But I guess we'll see.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess now let's just dive into the trailer and talk about it.
Mm,
So yeah, starting with the Doctor with the Sonic doing some kind of sound wave is what I'm guessing by the way
mm,
that it's opaque. You could kind of see through it, so it's got
yeah.
to be some kind of sound signal. I'm guessing that's either during maybe a Weeping Angel episode where she's in this forest, or the Sontaran one. I think it's one of those
Mm,
two. Um, so yeah, and then we got the person being like, it's happening again. Who are you? And you know, introductions, Dan. Then we get the really interesting shot of Liverpool with a shit ton of Sontaran ships,
mm,
which they look great. Like
mm,
the graphics. The cool thing about it just being, well, I mean, there is 8 episodes because they got the specials, but because it is a
mm,
reduced count, it means that like the budget for like 2 whole episodes can go into just like the graphics of these ones, because
mm.
you're like cutting down shoot days, people you have to pay for, like, you know, camera equipment, all that,
So
catering, all that.
that's
So that's a lot
also
of money.
assuming the budget's the same
Yeah,
because like potentially, I mean, we don't know kind of what goes on behind the scenes, but like potentially the BBC, I mean, it could, you know, have adjusted the budget accordingly, I suppose.
I guess it depends how they went about it.
Because I mean, these shots look good, but at the same time, they're not going to show us bad shots if there are any, right?
Yeah, true, but they
So,
show a lot of good CG shots. That's
hmm,
also what I'm gonna point out. Then we get this person disintegrating, right? Like the skull face, which is definitely one from later, who's like our final battle. Like, I'm definitely starting to think that that could be the master, like mid transforming into this, because people are thinking perhaps it's the decaying master.
hmm.
However,
Doesn't
having
really look like the K Master,
having
but
seen like another shot, what is it? Neil from The Inbetweeners at one point is with this girl and they're falling down, and now that there's this shot of the publicity shot, right? And they've got
yeah.
like him and the decaying guy and like a female.
Hmm.
There's like two of them, right? People are now also theorizing that it's them. They turn into these two characters, which could be interesting. So maybe it's not the Master, maybe it's these two other characters, and they're about the same height as what as
Could
the actors
be.
are. So that's interesting. Do you think they're the Ravengers?
Um, well, they name drop them. I mean,
Possibly.
I think everything that was mentioned in that like thing are things that are going to appear. Again, I don't know. I mean, I guess I can get into detail a little bit on this now, but I'm wondering how exactly this whole thing is going to be sort of, I guess, structured. Is it going to be sort of because I know, of course, we've got like a continuing story. Every episode follows on to the next, but sort of how, I guess, like in terms of individual episodes, how they're structured. Does like say, is there like a dedicated story per villain, or is it like a continuing thing? So you might see the Sontarans here, and next time they're here, like a few episodes later, while you're also dealing with this here, and
Hmm.
rather than having like strict like this episode's here, it's almost like sort of a extended movie in a way where you have like threats continuing and different plot lines and such
Mm.
um throughout. It's just like a thought I had about how this could potentially work, especially given that we've only got like one writer for the whole series. Maybe it's not like
It's
you
not a
know
crazy concept. I think the doggo which
yeah,
appears in the trailer. So the guy, do you remember in the reveal trailer, Dan is
yeah,
talking to that guy. So that guy is listed, like his name is, oh, I can't remember what it is. It's like begins with a K, Car Vanstra
mm,
something or something.
yeah,
Um, and that dog has been revealed to also be called that. So I think that guy is in disguise, like is this dog character in disguise as a
exactly, yeah,
human. But I don't think that that would be a main villain, right, for like a
mm,
whole story. So I think like that character will be like a reappearing
ongoing.
character. I also think that potentially Vinder
Mm,
doesn't meet up with the Doctor until the very end. I think Vinder's gonna have like this side plot which just happens throughout the
mm.
series, and they eventually connect.
Possibly, or they could like. I mean, I think the side plot thing is not bad. That I like. I don't think is necessarily wrong, but at the same time, I it depends on how they're connected because I can see them also sort of tying it at the beginning and tying it back up again at the end, maybe, or something like that. You know, but it's like it's also given how many villains they've thrown in and how they're sort of almost talking about them, I do wonder, and I briefly touched on this earlier, but I wonder how much time each villain's actually going to get. I mean, certain ones
Mm.
I'm sure they're going to have far more screen time than others. Like the Sontarans we've seen like in multiple locations and push quite heavily, so I imagine they're going to have like a huge presence throughout. But
Uh, yeah,
things like the Cybermen were just sort of a throwaway in the last trailer. They were just like, oh, there they are. Yeah, they haven't really like built them
which
up.
was
Like,
was a surprise, to be honest. I
yeah,
think from what
they,
that like the background looks very similar to where Vinda has been. So
mm,
I personally think that while the Doctor and Yaz are having and Dan are having their own adventures, we're
mm,
going to cut away at points to Vinda, who is just a separate character doing his own thing,
mm,
also facing his own issues and problems throughout the
yeah,
series, like the Cybermen coming for him, and
maybe,
maybe seeing the Weeping Angels. I think that those six characters on the pillars, which is he's approaching this stone room.
mm,
I think those six characters are lonely assassins before they
yeah,
became Weeping Angels. Just because
okay,
the way that they appear really suddenly, they've got body length dresses. There's
mm,
six of them, and then later in the trailer, there's literally six Weeping Angels. And I'm like,
yeah,
that seems like a bit of a coincidence that there's these
yeah,
six mysterious things. And I mean, if Vinder's at the start of a universe, like
mm,
Gallifrey was in the whole Timeless Child, that was early Gallifrey, right? Which was start of a
mm,
universe,
yeah,
which is when the lonely assassins were
mm,
became the Weeping Angels. I think we're
yeah,
getting a Weeping Angels origin, or like a
possibly, yeah,
slight one, um, And yeah, so that's my guess, and I'm thinking that Vinder's going to have this side thing, and eventually, at a point where we don't think they will somehow meet up, they do. Like, you know, it's suddenly out of nowhere, and then maybe like the final episode or the final two is them actually teaming up, and then so on.
Possibly. I mean, again, we don't. I don't think we know enough yet to know how exactly Vinder kind of
Fits
ties
into it.
into all this. Like, it could still just be mostly focused on the Doctor, and Vinder just shows up here and there for this reason or that reason, rather than having a full-on side plot. I just don't think we know enough yet, I guess, to fully make that
Oh
call.
yeah, I mean, this is all just speculation here.
And like I said, like I think the way they kind of set it up with the whole like all these villains, are they coming from the Flux or are they being drawn to the Flux? I wasn't.
Well, yeah, I guess that's something we'll find out.
Well, that's
It's a
mystery.
mystery.
But whatever the case is, like it seems just to have brought like a lot of villains from Doctor Who's past and also some new villains all together. So potentially for the service of like the main plot, like some of them may serve as just like obstacles or like, you know, almost as like I guess glorified cameo some of the villains, because like if we have like huge focus on everything that all the villains we've seen so far, I'm really worried about pacing and how you know.
Well, I think like say the doggo will be a side cameo. I think the Cybermen will also be a side. Okay, so that's those two main ones as side characters from what we saw in the trailer. I think Sontarans will have a full episode. I think Weeping Angels will have a full episode, and those crystal-looking guys will have a full episode. That and then like the others, I think the dog might appear like throughout as like this kind of issue, but not as a main villain. That's my call. But I just want to say, Sontaran designs are sick, man.
They are.
They look so bloody good, especially a Sontaran on a horse. Like,
again, that
whole
all kind of
shot.
brings back, and like Sontarans in like historical settings very much ties into that whole Time Warrior thing.
Yeah,
because that is where the Sontarans were at their best, right? In the Time Warrior.
Yep.
So
good.
Tying back to that, both in terms of like where they're actually like appearing, as well as their actual designs, which is very classic sometimes, particularly like the helmet design,
just the color scheme.
The fact they're a bit taller.
Which
I mean, they're slightly more armor plated, I think, than the classic designs, because it was sort of like a.
Well, these like ones are going into battle. That's my thought. Like, these are battle-ready Sontarans.
Yeah.
And I love that they're taller because they become more intimidating now. I feel like there's that, you know, height does add intimidation. Tall things are intimidating. And, yeah, the whole new design is fantastic. I think I might actually prefer it to the Russell T.
Oh yeah, definitely. I very much agree.
They just, I literally, I cannot wait. And if they are episode 1, I am pumped. I'm so pumped.
And I might also have, you know, I mean, more things about this, but like there was like a quote going around from the Doctor Who magazine about Chibnall sort of talking about the Sontarans, and he seems to actually get it. Like there is a certain comedy to them, but ultimately,
yes, I suppose, yeah,
they are a real like
threat. They're army.
Almost like
they're
a consistent clone army.
Not afraid to die. Not afraid.
And like really, you know, he was like, I really want to, you know, go back to how Robert Holmes originally wrote them. You know, so it's like that's really good. And like I appreciate as like somebody who, you know, really does. There's like me Sontarans. I'm looking forward to seeing them hopefully represented right for the first time in a very long time.
2008. I mean, like, yes, Experiment and Stratagem are great episodes. And I still like those designs. And I really, that story is a great story.
Of course, you want to also count the Sarah Jane event. They had a pretty cool.
Yes, yes. Actually, the last Sontaran, I think they called it. Yeah, that's actually a very good episode. Remember it? Like, I know some people were saying, "Oh, no, it wasn't a great representation." It was a fucking CBBC show, guys. Like, calm the fuck down, you idiots. But anyway, this looks great. Like that whole battle shot of the Sontarans and like the Crimean War, and like that looks fucking sick. Like, look how many Sontarans there are. Like, yes, like this is like this is when like they said they were up in the production value. That is
Mm.
like what I want to see, and it looks
Yeah.
sick. I really hope for like a bit of a Game of Thrones battle sequence. I hope they don't cut away at that point and we come back later when the battle's over. Now
I mean, I can see them doing that, to be
oh
fair.
man, I'll be so
I
upset
can
if they
really
do.
see
But
them doing
yes,
that.
that's why I said it, because I could also see right now people are saying, I've seen in a lot of videos that and also you said it, that it might be Sontarans in the future, then in a later episode Sontarans in the past.
Yeah.
My counter to that, which no one has picked up on yet in trailer breakdowns that I've watched, is that when the Sontaran ships are exploding at the end, you can clearly see there's a general in Crimean like outfit in the future. Basically, he is there, so they have to be in the same episode if like you're tying up that plot of these ships exploding, because he has the Crimean like helmet, hat, feather, so you can tell just from his silhouette it's him.
I mean, unless, like I said, it's kind of spread out, and
Possibly,
like
but
the plot line just continues. Like maybe hasn't got out of the Crimean stuff.
it depends. I just find that might be a bit too. I feel like the story will continue and there'll be threads that are set up in one episode and then continue in the later ones. But I think you kind of have to have some very like some clear breaks. I can't see them doing a whole Sontaran thing, because it's just gonna you're asking for just a mess then at that point. Cause like,
yeah, well that's
like,
again part of my concern. It's
what
just
do you
that is a
concentrate
possibility.
on? So yeah, I think we got a nude, which his
We
eyes
did.
look very different.
Yeah, and it's one of the well, maybe depending on where this is set, pre-freedom or like or post-freedom but previously enslaved dude, because of the fact it has the translatable rather than the brains. So
yeah, I think looking at the background for this shot, he is owned by the crystal people, because it's kind of quite a blue background. It's got a bit of purple in it, so I'm feeling like they probably have a nude. I feel like that's the kind of thing they'd have a slave, right? If they're bad guys, it makes sense that bad people have slaves. We also got a soldier at one point. Do you think that's unit?
I think it's quite likely, honestly. I mean, I think we've heard kind of rumblings that they're going to be doing stuff with unit again.
Yeah, there was
they kind of left that open.
Yeah, they're clearly doing something with it.
Whether or not this is them, I don't know. But like, I think it could well be. But without like the emblem or whatever, we can't really tell.
Yeah, you can't tell. I mean, that shot where they're on that green planet is definitely like the opening, I think, of the series, where there's these flying robots and they're falling through the sky. I think that's definitely like kind of, how James Bond, I mean, he did a whole James Bond spoof with Spyfall. So I feel like that's exactly the angle he's going to go for. Big action scene to open it in a previous adventure, which I think works for Doctor Who. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like, because it's just those two there, I feel like it feels very series opener, crazy adventure, but the graphics look fucking sick, especially when they're like the camera's spinning and they're holding onto this drone robot and flying past the camera. It looks really good.
Yeah.
Now this is the bit where I think people could have a fair shout saying it's the Master, which is when he goes, "Our final fight has begun," which would like refer to,
well,
they've had previous battles, right?
Unless that's like, I mean, actually, one thing I could kind of see with that is that rather than saying it's the finals fight in general of like a long history, this could be, say, something that starts in episode 1, and this is our final fight by episode 6, because there's things that's happened between that, and some of the issues have been caused by this skull-faced man.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I wouldn't read necessarily too much into that. I mean, there are things you can draw potentially from that, but like that could just be referring to events prior in the series rather than prior history, I guess.
So I definitely think at one point Vindigos were, and then we get a shot of, I think the female, maybe Ravenger, touching this kind of disc thing which starts to disintegrate. I'm pretty sure that's in the same room as where we see those cloaks people. So maybe they're the ones behind the flux happening, or at least the creators of Weeping Angels. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Yeah. Just looks very sick. Obviously, we got Weeping Angels. Sure.
We already knew that.
I'm actually quite ready for enough a Weeping Angels story. I mean, since the last one was Angels Take Manhattan, which was 2013. That was almost a decade ago. How
for good
really
reason though.
Is it really?
Well, unless you count
quickly?
Class.
Yeah, I mean they were only a cameo at the end anyway. It wasn't like a.
Well, yeah, they were meant to be more important.
Yeah, what a shame.
Is it though?
I don't know. I was intrigued as to what that plot line was going to be, but yeah, they just the balance in that series was off.
They had the audience they were trying to appeal to just wasn't going to work.
They either didn't focus on the family enough to the point where when the dad died, you just didn't care.
Yeah.
When their family died, you just didn't care because they didn't make them likable characters. They were just like, you should care because it's their dad. And I'm like, but I don't know that character. I've barely seen him.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the problem with that show was just that it was too old for a lot of the kids watching Doctor Who, and seemed too young for a lot of the adults watching Doctor Who because it was focused around teen life, and most teens don't necessarily care for Doctor Who and Doctor Who related things.
A lot of adults watch Sarah Jane Adventures, right?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that. It's just this. Well, because that show was better suited for it because you had Sarah Jane and her problems. A lot of the adults, some of the adults knew her from classic Doctor Who, and the ones that didn't, already came to love her from the school reunion and such.
Very true.
Plus, the school life part of that was relatively, I guess, more chill. Whereas this is like full on like teen drama. Sleeping about and whatever's. It's like I can see that being off-putting to a lot. It's like,
yeah.
So, but yeah.
Anyway. Weeping Angels are back, and there's 6 of them at least in this shot, which makes me believe that bit in the past with those robes is connected to this.
I mean, could be, but the fact that it's just 6 and 6 doesn't. There could be more off camera. We don't know.
Well, now you see, I would kind of believe that, but from the way I edit it, like when I edit stuff, at least you kind of drag in your episodes and you choose your good clips, and it's just chronologically in the trailer it makes sense. Like you still try and make things make sense when you edit a trailer, and because those rogue people come before it, and then there's these Weeping Angels later in the trailer. I don't know. Just to me, from like an editor's perspective, if I was doing that cut, that's probably what I'd do.
Could definitely be.
This could just be me trying to like feed my own theory. But we also get Jodie falling through a purple void, which is definitely back to Gallifrey or to actually the Timeless Child doorway had that purple light where she
could be to her home planet, a real home planet,
a real Gallifrey 2.0, which is still in the constellation of Costerboros.
Gallifrey.
Gallifrey in the constellation of Costa coffee. Costa coffee. We're sponsored now. But I'm interested to see how they tie Timeless Child up. Because
I guess. I guess it's good that it's at least being tied up. But
I'd prefer it being tied up. But yes, called Doctor Who Flux. I like that name. It's intriguing.
It's interesting they actually name a series as something because of course it's
first time in a long time. Trial of the Time Lord was the last one. And Key to Time was adopted later on, but it kind of is.
No, definitely. I mean, it's interesting. That is interesting that they
honestly feels fresh. It makes the series feel
Yeah.
fresh. It's like it's unique, right? And like, yes, I'm disappointed we got a lower episode count, but if this is 6 fucking great episodes, then you know what? I'm all for it.
True,
I'd
but
prefer
there's
6 great
absolutely no
episodes.
guarantee of
Yes,
that.
with Chibnall,
Especially given
yeah.
that, yeah, it's mainly Chibnall writing it, and Chibnall has pretty consistently been the weakest like aspect of the era.
Yeah.
Like the story's not written by him and generally the strongest, and we're getting a whole season of just his episodes. So
Well,
it's
see,
like
that's like Series 11. Yes, he definitely was the weakest writers. Series 12, I enjoyed Spyfall. I did enjoy
okay.
Ascension, which was very good. It was just he just kind of
Ascension was
messed it
pretty
up in
good,
part
yeah.
2, right?
Hmm.
Fugitive was all right, but it was just so plot heavy, and now it's
I know
also got John
people
Barrowman.
like. I don't know why people like that story so much.
I think it was the well, at that point it was a lot of the John Barrowman hype, and then yeah, because I mean that was a great surprise, right? Seeing him in it was awesome. At that point in time.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, slightly tainted.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just kind of an unfocused, sort of mess.
I'm
like
rewatching them. I'm rewatching the series at the moment. I'm currently on series 11. I've got up to It Takes You Away. A lot better on a rewatch. I've actually been enjoying series 11 quite a lot. It does feel really fresh.
We didn't hate it when we watched it before. Like I remember we were quite positive, and then like some episodes like became more negative as we thought about them more. But I remember our first watches, like we weren't like super negative. It was just like I think I said by the end of the season, it's just like this whole season has been very much a mixed bag, and I kind of still stand by that.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely there are some definite strong points, maybe not nearly as much as the season before. Peter Capaldi's last season was.
Oh yeah, but that was
I mean that's kind of
fantastic.
where some of the issue comes from.
I think that was
is
tough,
it feels like script writing wise it was quite a drop by comparison, but it doesn't mean there isn't quality there, and there certainly was some very quality episodes in there, but there was also in amongst it several really bad episodes. So.
Yeah. I think the tough thing was it was just Sharanga and Arachnids back to back, and Ghost Monument's a bit slow.
Monuments and the finale,
which I'm interested to watch that one again. But yeah, you have 3 really good in a row. You've got Demons of Punjab, Kablam, and Witchfinders, which are all very enjoyable, really good, fun. But yeah, all guest writers, funny enough. But anyway,
exactly.
But Series 12, I'll be interested to watch again and see how I feel about that one. And then if I've got time before the next series comes out, I'll try and fit in the Time Warrior. I don't think I'll manage all of the Sontarans, but I'd like to watch that one again.
Time Warrior, I think, the
classic,
the essential
Sontaran
watch. Like again, like not that they've never had. I mean, Sontaran Experiment's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. Invasion of Time I haven't watched since.
Ugh, one of my least favorite stories. Period. But
2 Doctors is all right. I don't mind it. I enjoyed 2 Doctors a bit. They went on holiday. It was a holiday for the Doctor.
Yeah. It was mainly. I mean, Sontaran element of that though wasn't.
But yeah,
great. It was just nice to see the second Doctor and Jamie again.
But we do have co-writer Maxine Aldrin for episode 4, which I'm thinking will be the Weeping Angel episode, because clearly she was very good at the horror aspect of Haunting of Villa Diodati. So I feel like her kind of expertise in that angle would be good. That would be a good shout to me. I feel like
would be
the fact that she's only co-writing 1. It's like, okay, well, why would you want help on 1? Okay, well, maybe like what did she do so well in her one? And that was the horror and the tenseness. So I think he's tapped in for that, which I think's good.
Possibly,
I think though he wrote some decent tense moments in the Cyberman Ascension. That was really good when she was inside the suit and he was kind of looking. That was very good. But yeah, I think so. I think Weeping Angels will be episode 4. Sontaran's episode 1. And these Ravager guys, who knows? Whatever. I'm excited though. I'm really feeling
Yeah.
pumped for this series more than any before. I feel like it's a fresh angle. I feel like it's working with Chibnall's strengths as well of one consistent story. I feel
Yeah,
like
well,
he
we'll see how
struggles
well that.
episodically.
I mean, we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
obviously
I
we'll
mean,
see.
yeah.
I'm just
Like I said, I certainly have my concerns. Yeah, as I've mentioned, like the sheer amount of villains we've seen so far, as well as the fact that it is only Chibnall writing. It is for me kind of a concern. But we shall see how it works out. Certainly, the trailer certainly made me more, because as I mentioned at the beginning, like I was very sort of indifferent to the bits which were being shown. Like that
oh yeah.
first
I
like
mean,
trailer, I
yeah,
was
that
just
was
like,
nothing. I mean,
meh.
I was the
And
same.
then like all the information coming out, I was just like, okay, fine. But like it was, yeah, it does take one good trailer to sort of perk stuff up, and it has. I am, like I said, I'm more interested now certainly than I was before. I wouldn't quite go as far to say excited.
I guess you
Honestly,
got
I'm
to see
just
how episode
really,
one goes. Yeah.
really waiting for this era to finish at this point. But hopefully it's good, and that it is a positive trailer. But at the same time, it's a trailer.
Yeah.
It's supposed to show you the best of it in the kind of snippets
Well,
and
this
to
is
get people
yeah.
excited. It doesn't,
Well,
you
that's the
don't
thing.
know how the series is going to end up,
When I did
right?
look at the prior trailers, like even like when they were showing their best bits in those trailers, like they were nowhere near as the best bits of this trailer. At least I'm like, okay, like it's just like the energy to it was great, and the amount that they were showing as well, just makes you think, wow, okay, they've shown a lot here, and clearly there'll probably be more. Let's be realistic.
You'd hope so.
So I'm pumped. I'm really excited for Sontarans. I've been saying for ages on this channel how I really want a Sontaran story again. Like it was 2008, like over a decade ago. Like fuck me, that's so long ago. I mean,
and Strax doesn't count.
I was 10. I was 10. I remember I missed the first episode because I was at like a Cubs like camping thing. And I came back home on the Sunday and I watched it. And like that's how long ago. I was 10 and I'm 23
well, we both...
now. Yeah, we're both. No, you would have actually been 9.
I probably 9.
I just turned 10 and yeah, Jesus. And now we're 23. We're going to die. But that's existential crisis aside. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I really hope the Sontarans are episode 1 because everyone's setting it up as all Sontarans episode 1. But now if they're not, I'm going to be like, oh,
yeah.
okay.
I mean,
Bo,
the marketing seems to be pushing that direction.
Pumpkins,
given the whole...
yes, actually, yeah, oh no, I think they were confirmed episode 1 because of what was in the magazine. Actually, I think that is why, because they showed them there, and I think it is said in the magazine. I was trying to pick it up, but sadly, it wasn't available when I went to get it. But yeah, if someone could confirm that below, that would be great. But yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited for new Doctor Who. Yes, let's bring it. Let's do it. I mean, we've only, as you said, there's only so much of this era left. So I just want to enjoy it as much as possible, right? I'm happy with where it's going in the future, but now that, like, I feel like now I know that the end's in sight, it's like, okay, I can see the finish line, so let's just enjoy this last stretch as much as we can. Hopefully it's good stuff. I feel like they've had more time to work on it as well. Seeing as he couldn't go anywhere, he's got to work from home, right? Like less distractions, so he could just write and write and write.
I remain cautious. I generally tend to, try not to get my expectations too sky high in terms of a lot of these things. And that's just in general. That's just a general philosophy. Just try not to expect too much. Certainly, like I said, a lot of positives to be taken, but I guess we'll see, because like I said, the series isn't there. We don't know what it's going to end up being. It could just be all terrible.
9 episodes. 9 episodes left of Jodie.
But yes.
Isn't that insane? 9 episodes. We got this, then I guess a Dalek New Year special, I'm guessing. Seeing as that's the trend, New Year Daleks.
Probably. Unless they throw them in this season, but
yeah.
somewhere. I'm given all the monsters they're throwing in. I can almost see them just
I could
throwing
see
in the
the
Daleks
Dalek will be
somewhere in
there.
there.
Yeah, I think then we've got that kind of pirate one as the springtime special. I'm guessing April May time, Easter special maybe, and then the centenary special, which has kind of wrapped and been filmed. So the era, at least in production wise, is done. Now they're just in post production.
Well,
Post production.
Yeah.
I mean like production on set. But and then the new era. So yeah, that's it for series 13 stuff. Comment below if you're excited or if you care or if you don't. What you got excited for? What do you think about the Sontarans? Everything, marketing. Talk about it. Just say what's on your mind. Just keep it polite.
You can talk to me. You can trust me. I'll keep your secrets safe.
Can you hear me? See you next time, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.
Bye.